In this particular short video, I plan to go over two very generic kinds of long-term care policies that are out there. There's been a lot of confusion in this matter, and as the states are coming out with their own legislation and on payroll tax and such for working class, why it's kind of good to know a little bit about this in a very, very simple way of looking at it. So there are two kinds of long-term care plans. The one that I'm going to start with is one that has been around for a long time, and it is known as a health-based long-term care contract. That is a health-based long-term care contract, and how that has worked in the past is there's been a bucket of money sitting there. It might be, say, $150,000. And if you have a long-term care problem or something come out, why this is going to drain off, say, $4,000 a month for long-term care. If a husband and wife have joined their buckets together, maybe his and hers is $150,000, and the other spouse gets to drain off the $4,000 a month as well. These have been around since the early 70s, early 1970s. And so if you've heard about long-term care, you've probably heard about the health-based types of contracts. And so if you pass away, why there is nothing there for the beneficiaries, and at the same time, the value of the bucket should be growing as well. There should be some what we call compound inflation going on there as well. So these buckets are going up in value along the way. So this is called health-based contracts sitting there. Now let's jump over to a newer kind of contracts, and these are known as asset-based long-term care contracts, asset-based. And so what the principle behind this says is that there is a built on a death benefit chassis on a life insurance contract or an annuity type of contract. And so if you pass away, someone's going to get, say, $100,000. But if this has been built in a particular manner, why, if you have a long-term care thing, then you may have, say, maybe 200,000 sitting here, 200,000 for long-term care. And this is growing at 3% as well. So the good news is that if you suddenly pass away, your beneficiary is going to have the $100,000 death benefit. But if you go into a long-term care situation, why, there'll be $200,000 available for long-term care. They also make this in another flavor as well, where maybe a husband and wife can be together in the same bucket. And let's just say it's pouring off $4,000 a month for each of them as well. And this is going to be something called a joint policy. And so if both pass away, there might be a death benefit again of $100,000. But if you have a long-term care problem come up, then this is going to be worth $200,000 for long-term care. So this is called an asset. Both pass away, or if it's a single policy, one person passes away, there is a death benefit there that is part of the estate. That is tax-free money to your estate at that point. They also make these in flavors of annuities. And so this could be an annuity sitting here. And sometimes what folks are doing is they're taking it out of an old annuity, rolling it over to another annuity. It's called a 1035 exchange. If you set this up correctly, certain federal provisions to show that any kind of growth moving on is going to be tax-free for long-term care. So these are long-term care annuities. And so old annuities can be transferred over into a long-term care annuity. So I hope that helps giving the outline of what an asset-based long-term care is versus a health-based contract. The employers and such may end up getting more of the health-based long-term care. Over here, there's employers that put programs together specifically to take care of that, but individuals can put together an asset-based long-term care that's going to give them some options along down the road. I would say, too, that if you're looking at doing an exemption from a particular state payroll tax, Washington State, or in another instance, California may be coming up, and other states as well, you have to be very, very cognizant of the particular contract language. The language will determine if you are able to exempt from the payroll tax. So I hope that helps from a high-level overview. And so Mark Rogers here, happy to chat with you about your situation as to how to solve for your long-term care, extended care issue. And it's all based upon health. A lot of these based upon health. And so depending on where the health situation is, we can try to see how to solve that. If you're a worker and you need to exempt yourself from a payroll tax coming up, why we can get that to take care of that. If you're retired and you'd like to look into it, there are other solutions that we can dive into this as to how to solve this so that you can keep your savings intact, keep your family happy,